Good morning, Claremont Center for Spiritual Living. How are you this morning? I'm Reverend Tracy Earlywine, and just delighted to welcome you into our circle, our community, this place of love and fellowship and support. How good it is to see all of you, even if it is virtually, because I know that the connection we feel is present whether we are in each other's presence or not. For in consciousness, we are all one, and it's a good thing. So thank you for joining us this morning on this beautiful day. I want to remind you that our practitioners are here to support you in prayer. If you haven't already, why don't you pick up the phone, give them a call, or call the office prayer line, or send an email maybe, and let them know how they might support you in consciousness. One of the things we do at Claremont Center is know the truth for each other, and that truth is that no matter what is going on in anyone's life, that there is a greater happening, a greater reality of love and wisdom and peace that we can tap into. And if we can't know it for ourselves, then our practitioners will know it for us. So it is a good thing to do for yourself. It's a great way to stay spiritually grounded. And it would be truly their delight and honor to do that with you, to pray with you, to know the truth for you. So do that. You can find their information online or in our weekly e-blast. I just want to remind you that we will continue to meet online for the full month of January, and then we will reassess the Department of Health guidelines. We're waiting out the pandemic is what we're doing. We're keeping everybody safe and yet still staying connected. So stay tuned. We'll keep you posted on when our next outdoor in-person gathering might be, but not at least until February. All right, at this time, I want to get us started, get us centered, bring us into that place of peace within. So if you will, right where you are, take a moment, close your eyes, take a deep breath. And let the sound of the bowl take you into that place of inner knowing. Allowing that tone to bring you into the sanctuary of the heart. That place of peace and wisdom and light where we know only oneness.
And right here, right now, in this amazing God-filled space, we know that God is. God is here even now. And here is what I know today. I know that we are love. I know that we are peace. We are kindness. We are forgiveness. And we are all about being one. All about being one and love and light. That is our truth. And we are taking our power back today. This is our truth, and we are stepping forward. I want everyone to stand up and take one step forward. Claim that truth and say with me, we are love. We are peace.
We are peace.
We are light.
We are light.
We are health.
We are health.
And we are all together united as one in this. Stand in this truth, my friends. Stand and know this truth. We've got this. We've got this now more than ever. Breathe all that in. Know that for yourself. Know that for your family. And know that for your friends and your community. Stand in this truth with me. And I am so grateful to be here today. Grateful to be of service. And grateful to know this truth for us. And please join me in saying, and so it is. All right, my reading today is from Jeff Kober, and it's called Same Ingredients, Different Shape and Size. Sitting at dinner with Gita and Savita, Savita has a piece of sweet, flat, and brown. She says, it tastes like Ledu, which is a round ball of decadent goodness. Gita says, it's Mohantal. Mohantal? Yes. Same ingredients, different shape and size, said Savita, delighted. Just like you and me, says Jeff. Ah, repounds Savita. Long pause, laughter. Oh, that is good. Just like you and me. As are we all. Today I look for what is the same between me and my fellows, rather than what is different. I will look beyond what I don't understand to find something deeper that I can understand. I will refuse to lend credence to the voice of negativity that chatters in my head as everything unlike me. I will remember that God is everything, everyone, everywhere, always. And so it is.
Just like you and me. So for the last several weeks, we've been talking about keeping our vision high and seeing beyond appearances and looking past the divisions and the apparent injustice and people's anger and fear and divisiveness, all those things that are so visible here on the ground, so to speak, here in daily life. The things that block our view of the greater reality, not just the human within us, but the divinity within us that knows the peace and the wisdom and the love and the light that we're talking about. In trying to put together this week's talk, I actually found myself very frustrated. It's like, I don't want to just say the same thing over and over again. I don't want to repeat myself. I want a new approach, new words, something else to lift us all up. And what I finally realized is that what I really want is a new feeling. There's a part of me that just screams, enough already. It's like things are changing, but they're not all here yet, and it could be better, but it's not quite, and I think it is, and then it's not, and enough already. And then that wisdom self within me reminds me there is already enough. Oh yeah, right. See, I'm looking for a reason to feel better, to feel differently, to feel centered, to be in my power, to have a sense of forward motion and upward uplift. But the thing is, if I'm waiting for someone or something to make that happen, then human nature says that my thing is probably not the same as your something or someone, and then I'll be happy, but maybe you won't be. And that's not how I want to live. That's not what we teach. Science of Mind, the Centers for Spiritual Living Global Vision says, we envision humanity awakening to its spiritual magnificence and discovering the creative power of thought, a world where every person discovers his or her own personal power and ability to create an individual life that works within a world that works for everyone. So if I'm happy and you're not, that's not really a world that works for everyone, is it? I want to come from a place that gives us all room to be happy, to be secure, to feel our sacred center as the place we live from. And what that requires is for me to go back to the beginning. And the beginning of Science of Mind for me is change your thinking, change your life. Changing our thinking is about shifting our perspective, right? That's why we talk about taking the high view. You know that if you're on the ground trying to navigate, say, a corn maze at Halloween, it's really hard to tell where you are, where you're going, or where you've been even. But if you get up above it and you can look at the maze from up above, you can see the big picture, the whole pattern. It's a lot easier to see where the beginning and the end is and how to get there. So we talk about rising above circumstances, not to disengage from the world, but to simply see it differently. You know, it's that rising up for each of us is a part of our evolution, part of our awakening, if you will. It's taking in that bigger picture, a higher consciousness perspective. And it takes perseverance, it takes practice, it takes a willingness to go beyond what's right in front of us into something greater, into a place where we can pause and breathe and be still and reconnect with the power that we already have and sometimes forget. I know that until I started traveling, I didn't really understand that there were, quote, other ways to live life. I mean, I saw what I saw, right? I grew up in the suburbs of Los Angeles, and I remember seeing a documentary about kids that lived in an inner city, and they were part of a youth group that took them to the Pacific Ocean. Now, these kids had lived within 20 miles of the ocean their whole life, but they'd never seen the ocean. And the experience of walking out onto the sand and seeing the vastness of the sea spread out before them was mind-blowing. In other words, when we're looking out of our own window, other people's buildings, right? Their worldly constructs, their beliefs and opinions, you know, what our family teaches us, the norms that we live by, all of these things can make us forget that just beyond that, around the corner from that, down the road a piece, there's open land or a starry sky or the vastness of the mountains or simply a trail with one ridge and then another and then another. We are limited in our perspective, but not in our possibility. And so this idea of rising up is a way of changing our view so that we might live more easily, with less fear, with less stress, with less tension, and with a deeper joy, because we know that life is for us. Now, science of mind does not teach us that we ignore our human life. You know, we're here to love. We're here to live abundantly. We're here to give life, to support and be kind and engage with one another and with this playground that we live in. And yet, new thought sometimes, well, we're evolving, but at least at the beginning, new thought will often bypass pain or trauma or difficulty. You know, we label it negative. We're not looking beyond appearances if we're in the middle of pain or trauma or something awful is happening, like, you know, a pandemic. We tell ourselves that it's bad or we're thinking wrong. We make ourselves wrong. But you know, Ernest Holmes tells us that this power for good that life is, this power for good uses every part of my human experience, the joyous and the challenging, the pleasure and the pain, to guide me into a deeper awareness and knowingness of itself as me. In God, nothing is wasted. All of my life experiences are used by the power of good, enabling me to help others and to bless the whole world. We're here to bless the whole world, you know, and when we are confronted with something that is uncomfortable or painful or tragic or difficult, what would happen if, instead of labeling it anything, we simply leaned into a process of listening to that pain or listening to what a situation has to teach us? rather than fighting against it, what if we just assumed it was for us? What if we reframed it as a teacher, as an expression of spirit? What if it were the holy portal that leads us to our own power? You know, a portal is a doorway of transformation where you are transported from one place to someplace different. What if we allowed all of life to simply be part of who we are becoming? There would be less struggle. There would be less resistance, which means there would be less stress. And we would, in fact, be able to take what is being gifted to us, no matter how it's disguised, and use it for good. We are shaped by our experiences, but it is up to us how we choose to be shaped. We can let a negative situation stop us in our tracks. We can let a difficult situation immobilize us with fear or estrange us from those we love. We can let something that's painful or uncomfortable simply cause us to shift direction. You know, when you work out a muscle and it's sore, you're actually building that muscle up stronger. If you work out a muscle and you injure it, you back off a little and you let it heal because the pain is telling you something if you but listen. If you never work it out because it gets sore, it also doesn't get stronger. So it's up to us to give meaning to what is happening to us in our lives and to trust that where we are and what we're doing is always moving us forward. It is for us. We can also let something that seems like a roadblock actually motivate us into creativity. One of the things I remember from the very beginning of the pandemic last year was the excitement when there were folks with 3D printers that figured out how to make masks on their printers so that they could supplement the PPE supply that was so strained, especially at the beginning. That's a creativity born out of what you would consider a negative situation. So you see, we have this ability to navigate life and to truly transform whatever is happening with us into something greater. My title today, And Still I Rise, is from a Maya Angelou poem. And it was a poem written in response to a specific cultural experience, the African American experience of slavery. But like all great poetry, it actually is giving us an universal truth. And it's the truth of inside each of us, there is something which is unstoppable. Something which is inexhaustible, which cannot be extinguished, which cannot be changed. It's what we call the divine within, or God, or spirit, or divine intelligence, or our soul. It's what we are, what we live in, what we move and have our being in. It's the essence of life. And that is what rises in us in every situation. That is what comes up and is called forth and cannot be oppressed. It's like that little green sprout pushing up through the cement and growing anyway. That's the essence of who we are. Life ceases to be quite so overwhelming when we are willing to think differently about what it is we're experiencing, what it is we're seeing. When we come to an understanding that all things, all energy, all doubt and fear and anger is simply energy to be transformed and directed into the new shape of our lives. And we have something to say about that. Ernest Holmes says, if you take the heat out from under the old hurts, what's left is light. And light is always a metaphor for understanding. So when we're able to look into our past and see where we've been hurt, what has been traumatic, what has been difficult, usually we can look back and say, and because of that, I am now stronger, clearer, more directed. Whatever I have become is because of everything that has brought me to this point. I want to share with you the last stanza of Maya Angelou's poem. She writes, "Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise." When we are able to live our lives no longer enslaved by fear or by anger or resentment or divisiveness, when we are able to leave behind the things or the people that have terrorized us, that have held us bondage, that have held us as slaves, when we can let that go, then we too rise into that new dawn, that understanding, that light of awakening of the dreams and the hopes. And what we bring with us from the past are only the gifts, only that which serves us now. And there are always gifts, because life is always for us. We don't use rising up as a metaphor to deny or forget where we come from, but simply to transform that energy into a new story, into a new starting point, a new beginning from here. Yes, I lived my past, and all possibility is laid out before me. So when you rise up in consciousness, in perspective, when you rise above the fray, when you don't engage in the argument, when you listen without reacting, when you make a space for people to be who they are, you are helping them, you are lifting them up as well. You are shining a light of understanding. And we do that one thought, one conversation, one action at a time. And each mind and heart evolves and expands and grows into a greater love, into a greater openness, into a greater acceptance, into a world that works for all. So even here, even now, big events, small moments, I rise, you rise, we all rise together. Namaste. And let's take a moment in prayer, shall we? Here and now, in this place, right where I am, God is. There is a sense of the presence and the power of life itself in my body, in my mind, all around me. This energy of life that is me, that surrounds me, that sustains me, is here, now, always. And this energy is an energy of peace and wisdom. It is a force of love, showing up as kindness and compassion, showing up as patience and willingness, expressing as connection from one heart to another, from one mind to another. in that field of unity from which we all come. And it is from this place of oneness, this place of knowing and understanding and experiencing life as a spiritual being, I speak my word for the divine unfoldment of peace in our world, for the perfect wisdom that infuses everyone's mind and conversations and ideas, for the creative forces at work through all that we do and all that we think and all that comes to us by divine inspiration. I speak a word that this creativity shows up for each of us in a way that lifts and uplifts all of us. That the gift that we are to life, the unique expression of love and wisdom, of personality, of character, of skill and ability, that our unique little package is sustained and infused with the very power of all life. And that the force that we are cannot be denied. And as I choose to move forward for good, for the all good, for the good of all, I trust and know that the highest self of every person does the same thing, that we are all living together, sustaining each other, supporting each other. For love always fuels life, and I am that life, and you are that life. And for this I am grateful. Grateful for every variety of expression that exists in humanity, and grateful for the unifying love which is the essence and truth of us all. And for this and so much more, I give great thanks and release my word into law. For I know that in the mind of God, the perfection of health and wholeness, of peace and deep joy, of wisdom and clarity, love and kindness, expresses exactly right, in the right time, on time, in the right way, always and in all ways. For it is all good, and it is all God, and so it is. I have an affirmation for you, and it is short and sweet today. So if you will, repeat after me. The power of God rises in me, and I am free. And so it is. All right. So again, I want to thank all of you for your continued support of our center. We are celebrating shall we say, a flourishing, thriving financial bank account situation. Thanks to your contributions, we are starting off the year strong, and we are in a position to fix the library roof, which apparently did not quite withstand the last rainstorm. So that is the next project on our agenda. But I want to thank you all for just making sure we're ready for whatever 2021 brings us. So thank you. If you need a reminder, or if you're joining us for the first time, we have a a PayPal button on our website that allows you to donate. You can also reach it through our e-blast that comes to you via email, or call the office and talk to Andy, and he can set you up with whatever works for you. You can also mail in a check. So any way you want to give, we know that what we give comes back to us tenfold, because we are part of that flow of life's abundance. It can only be good. This Wednesday night, once again at 6:15, we have meditation with practitioner Nisa Burrows. There is a conference call number for you to join in this very lovely, peaceful, centering process. I invite you to join us for that. And at 7 o'clock is Wednesday Night Gateway. We have a conversation, a discussion, a presentation, always something interesting and a really good exchange of ideas on how spirituality works in daily life. If you haven't joined us before, please do. It's via Zoom. And the link is in our e-blast and on our website. And if you're not familiar with Zoom, know that we would love to help you get online. Just give us a call and we will get you set up with someone to walk you through it and make sure you're ready for Wednesday. Let's see. I want to remind you too that we're still signing people up for the daily affirmations. This is a process of getting a text or a phone call or both with a new affirmation every day, and that is being championed by Marianne Cordova-Breen. She's setting all of that up so you can let her know, or again, call or email the office and we'll get you all set up with that. That'll be starting shortly, so do get on that list. It should be delightful. Again, this week, I just want, it's a big week coming up here. Martin Luther King Day is celebrated on Monday. We have an inauguration on Wednesday. We have a lot of shift and change and things happening in our world. And what I'm inviting you to do this week is to stay centered, to take time to anchor yourself in the truth, the greater truth, the higher view, the high vision. I want to remind you to take a moment and know peace, because it is there within you, no matter what's going on outside. Know your peace and live with kindness. And remember that you are loved. Until next week.